Hi YouTube. I wanted to make this video about transracial adoptions and just why our government feels that it's okay to place our black children in households with white parents. Just wanted to take a look at some of the cases, and I came across a case coming out of the DC area. A case in 1966 with Kara and Frank Speltz, a newlywed couple who had decided, due to having issues conceiving a child naturally, that they would consider adoption. After looking into some private agencies as well as Catholic churches and charities, the couple came to find out that it would take at least 5 years to even become eligible to adopt a healthy white baby. So Kara and her husband Frank decided that it might be easier to adopt an African American child. So the couple did their research, and in doing so, they've come to find out that DC's Department of Public Welfare, as well as the city's overcrowded home for orphaned and destitute children, prohibited that. Both organizations turned the couple down due to their policies against no transracial adoptions. So one day during a Sunday service at church, the Speltz family were approached by a woman who had informed them that she knew of another woman who had a child by a black community organizer that was unwanted, and she would potentially be interested in putting the child up for adoption. Kara was excited to hear that, and the couple immediately started proceedings for adoption. In 1967, the Speltz family finally got good news. A district court judge approved their adoption. And sadly, 3 years later, in 1970, the Speltz family separated. But they committed to sharing parental duties. Now, that case was just the earliest case I could find, but it looks like in 2007, 40% of children adopted domestically and internationally by Americans are of different races or cultures from the adoptive parents, according to the National Survey of Adoptive Parents. In 1972, our government decided to ignore the National Association of Black Social Workers and their reports finding that black children placed in communities or homes where they're different than the parents can create some identity issues. And the NABSW did not approve of transracial adoptions. Nowadays, it seems like celebrities are just as guilty as the government as far as perpetuating this obsession with adopting black children. So here's a case of 55-year-old actress Sandra Bullock. And Sandra seems to have adopted her son, Louis, 8 years old, in 2010. And then she adopted a daughter in 2015, Layla. Both children were from Louisiana. And a lot of people seem to have taken issue with this 2010 adoption due to the controversy surrounding Sandra's then newly ex-husband Jesse James and his girlfriend Michelle Bombshell McGee and her racist tattoos. She had apparently white supremacist tattoos, white power, a swastika. She would do photo shoots for racist companies. So needless to say, Sandra made a good choice by cutting ties from this guy, this Jesse James, and starting her life with her new husband and their 2 children. Now we'll move on to 61-year-old singer, an icon and legend, Madonna. Madonna has 6 children now. She has 2 biological children and 4 adopted children. Madonna had found herself in the middle of controversy when she decided to post a post calling her son Rocco a nigga. Black people went crazy, as well as just the public in general. Due to the fact that she had adopted these 2 African-American children, people wondered why she would be comfortable using that term. And Madonna decided to come out with, instead of an apology, with an insult. And she told all of us who were concerned to suck her, D-I-C-K. So, needless to say, the black community, we were put on high alert. And we just wanted to see if Madonna's decision-making skills would improve any, and it actually did not. Because it looks like in 2016, the 58-year-old had attended Ariana Grande's Miami Beach charity event, where her derriere looked noticeably different. So here's a video of Madonna on stage with her son, as well as dancing with Ariana Grande. now we'll just take a look at Madonna before the butt augmentation. So I just have high hopes that Madonna's children will have no developmental issues and will become well-rounded children. However, I did forget to mention Madonna's adoptive kids by name. Her son is David Banda Ritchie, her daughter Mercy James Ritchie, and in 2017, Madonna adopted 2 orphan twins from Maui, Esther and Stell. Now we've come to 38-year-old fitness instructor Jillian Michaels. Jillian and her partner Heidi Rhodes adopted a 3-year-old girl from Haiti, Lucancia. Eventually, the couple conceived a child of their own via Heidi's womb, welcoming son Phoenix to the family. However, after a 9-year courtship and an engagement, in 2018, the couple decided to split. Now moving on to 55-year-old actress Marissa Hargitay and her husband of 15 years, Peter Herman. The couple decided to adopt a daughter, Amaya, just months old. Then 6 months later, the couple adopted a Caucasian son, Andrew, and he was also just a few months old. And now we have 72-year-old director Steven Spielberg. Steven and his wife share 7 children, 2 of them being black. They adopted son Theo and later adopted a biracial daughter, Michaela. Now moving on to 55-year-old actress Mary Louise Parker. Mary Louise Parker, the star of Weeds. Apparently it's a sitcom. I've never watched it. But Mary did decide to have a child biologically before adopting daughter Caroline, which I do think is a great decision. And here we have 54-year-old actress Kristen Davis. Kristen's claim to fame was a series, Melrose Place. I think it came on in the 90s when I was in high school. And her more recent claim to fame or work is Sex and the City, and that's a pretty popular show. I've never seen it, but I guess it's pretty popular. And apparently, Kristen decided to adopt a 7-year-old little girl named Gima. Kristen Davis has never been married, and she had recently opened up on Jada Pinkett's Red Table Talk about the issues with raising a black child. And since then, she's even adopted a son. I don't think she's named the son yet or given him a name yet, but she did adopt a son, so now she has 2 black children. Here we have 52-year-old actress Connie Britton. I'm not familiar with any of her work, but I did notice that she adopted African-American children. And Connie had waited for years, and she was on a waiting list to adopt. When finally she was approved and it all paid off, Connie welcomed her son, Eob from Ethiopia, into the family. And also a pretty public case that I won't really go into detail about would be the Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman adoption of the little biracial son. I'm not sure of his name. I guess I should have looked that up, but I didn't take the time. I forgot I actually put the images in here, but we'll move on. Now moving on to one of the more problematic cases in my viewpoint would be the 44-year-old actress Charlize Theron. Charlize chose to adopt son Jackson, 6 years old, in 2012, and then adopted a 2-year-old daughter, August, in 2015. Charlize is a native of Johannesburg, South Africa, the daughter of a physically abusive alcoholic, and at age 15, Charlize had to come to terms with the fact that her mother had shot and killed her father in self-defense. So that video was Charlize admitting to letting her son Jackson play with dolls such as Tinkerbell. And Charlize admitted in a recent interview that, quote, "Yes, I thought she was a boy too, until she looked at me when she was 3 and said, 'I'm not a boy,' unquote." So the fact that Charlize would choose to listen to a 3-year-old and just take into consideration a 3-year-old's choice in sexuality, when you would think she would know better, a child's mind hasn't fully developed, especially sexually. So I would have hoped like someone would look into this, and it seems like no one's even bothered at all. And it's something that's bothering me, and I'm just curious as to why all these adoptions and why there's so much stock put into our government placing African American children into homes where the adoptive parents look nothing like the children. And it's just shocking that, 77% of black children are adopted into white families. 77%. Now, I'm sure plenty of you guys probably feel like as long as these kids are being placed in a great household, in a functioning household, and it's healthy for them, that why would it really matter who's the adoptive parents? Well, it turns out that studies matter, and studies done show that these kids do come with issues after being raised, isolated from their own culture and people that look like them. So it is something that I feel like should get more media coverage. And I wish it was something more adoptive children would speak out about if they've been having difficulties. I know me myself, I live in Minnesota, and, I used to work in Edina, Minnesota. It's one of the richest cities in Minnesota. And there's so many transracial adoptions, as in white couples and black children. Just the ones that I observed and just personally. So I can't even imagine across the city, just across the state of Minnesota. So it's becoming so common that I oftentimes wonder, and I know this may seem a little conspiracy theorist and just really like left field, but I have thought about the fact that there's so many missing children here lately, especially African American children, that I almost wonder if there's a reason that they're adopting these African American children. And I know melanated people's organs are in high demand here recently. And I know just personally, as of April of 2018, a Pennsylvania case of a 41-year-old man, Everett Palmer, an Army veteran who was found missing his throat, heart, and his brain. And in addition to a 2011 June case of a 14-year-old Jason Smith, whose death was ruled a drowning, and the coroner report says it was drowning in Louisiana, despite all of his vital organs were missing. Another Philadelphia case of a 51-year-old man, Vance Anderson. He died of a lung condition, but was sent home missing his eyes, brain, heart, and pancreas. Also, a January 2013 case is the Savannah, Georgia case, a 17-year-old young man, Kendrick Johnson. His body was found in a rolled-up wrestling mat, missing organs. The autopsy performed uncovered that the cavities where Johnson's internal organs had previously been were now stuffed with newspaper. Also, there's a San Bernardino case, July 2013, Orion Singleton. Ryan's car broke down in California Valley Desert, but when Singleton's body was recovered, it was missing his eyes, heart, lungs, and liver. A more recent case of a Chicago, Illinois young lady, a 15-year-old young girl by the name of Sadaria Davis. On May 11, 2018, her body was found mutilated and missing organs. Also, another Philadelphia case of a middle-aged man. We're going to call him John Doe. They have yet to identify this guy. But on March 2003, a body was found in an abandoned ghetto row house in North Philadelphia, missing his heart, liver, and internal organs. So it's a lot. And these are just the ones that I found online. There's plenty, I'm sure, that go unsolved, as in there are 64,000 missing black women and girls in the United States alone. So who's to say if these organs if it's due to organ harvesting, if it's just due to regular, crazy people. So I don't know, but this is just my thought process, and the fact that, black kids are being gunned down. I'm curious to know how their bodies are being returned, even the ones that die at police hands, or even in gang violence, even in black on black crime. Like, who's to say once they go to the hospital, they're not leaving the hospital and going to the morgue missing vital organs? So I would definitely want us as black people to pay attention to that and kind of open our eyes to the fact that white people are on to something. It's something to where they want to adopt African American kids. I don't think it's just in there and out of the kindness of their heart. I'm sorry. I just don't think that is what this is. And I just want us to be aware and keep our eyes open So if you like the content, you guys, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up. I hope to get better and make more content for you guys, and have a great day.